So in the sense, I welcome you to this practice today, which we will make about love. So what better topic is there than focusing on love? And as a prop, you will of course have the usual, your blanket to keep you cozy and other supports, but maybe also taking a block. And today I would ask you to find a supported seated position to begin with. Now, I will be making use of my block, but please feel free to sit on whatever feels very comfortable for you, and staying just a little bit away from the wall if you can, for some movement. And I hope you're not as wobbly on your seat as I have just demonstrated. But anyway, if you are feeling a little bit wobbly, out of sorts, there's still a good opportunity for you to engage in the practice as you need it to be. So as you come to sit, let your hands rest down. If you like, you can close the eyes. And just noticing, as we shared before the class, that due to potentially outer circumstances, we are affected with a little bit of heaviness. So if you feel that there's parts of your body that feel a bit tender or even stuck, get some organic movements in. There's no need to copy any movements that I might do because they will only suit my body well. You find your own movements. And as you're moving about, just staying connected to the body itself and the bodily responses. This is already a way of beginning to take care of yourself in this practice, which we will always do, only moving into postures that actually assist our well-being, rather than going into shapes that could potentially cause us harm. As you find your upright seated position now, let your arms open with the palms facing up as you breathe in. Get a little squeeze into the shoulder blades and really lift here from the sternum, maybe even lifting your chin up and rolling the eye gaze up. Eyes can be open or closed. Take one more breath. And when you're then exhaling, start to bring the palms of the hands to touch in front of your chest and place the thumbs lightly against the sternum. Our physical connection toward heart center for now. Let's begin this practice by chanting 3 rounds of Om. As we breathe in for the first round. Now this moment to be there to notice where you feel or felt the vibrations of your Oms or universal sounds. You can then choose to leave the hands as they are, Anjali Mudra, or place the hands down for Shin or Gyan Mudra, which means to touch your index and thumbs together. You may keep your eyes closed. As we continue with a breathing practice called Brahmari, bee breaths or humming breath. It's a simple technique where you hum as you exhale. until your lungs are reasonably empty, but before you have to gasp for air. And then you're breathing in again through the nose, the inhalation basically occurring, and then you're humming out again. You don't have to wait for me. As you chant, let the ohms just roll out as your breath allows you to. We'll begin together though with the inhalation for the first deep breath. One last round. Noticing resonations, effect of sound. When you next inhale, lean a little bit back, releasing any mudras. And if you were in an easy pose, changing the cross of your legs. On the in-breath, then turn the palms of the hands up, open your arms out, squeeze your shoulder blades, lift your gaze. And when you exhale, round your shoulders forward and touch the backs of the hands as you sink into your back. We'll do that a few times. On the inhale, open the arms, lift your sternum. On the exhale, lean into the back of the heart and extend into there, touching backs of hands. And now keep that flowing, breathing in to open your heart at the front. And exhaling to open the heart at the back. Go for another 2 rounds here, using the pace of your own breathing. And completed your rounds. Breathe in and open the arms in a similar way. But then lean over to your right as you're breathing out. Roll your arm in and forward. And breathe in again to open your heart and arms. And then move across to the other side as you're breathing out. Rolling your arm and shoulder in. And breathing in to open the arms out wide once again. This time wrap your arms around or place the hand behind for a gentle twist. On the inhale, open arms, lift your heart, and return to twist on the other side as you're breathing out. Turning back to the center, and once more open your arms and heart. This time you might place your fingertips down behind you Lean a little bit into the fingertips and open the heart even more. The head can go backwards. If you find this is enough, stay here. Otherwise, you might step your feet out in front. You can plant the hands down or the fists, and then squeezing your bottom and lifting your hips up for an upward facing tabletop. Head can remain backwards if your neck allows you to. Squeezing your bottom up, inhale. And as you exhale, be careful, especially if you were on a block, that you land on it again. And then take your feet out to one side, roll away from your block, and place the block closer to the front edge of the mat. We will change position now and come onto our hands and knees. As you step your knees down, have them about hip distance apart, and let your hands spread out onto the mat at about shoulder distance apart. So while you're here, you're grounding your hips over your knees, and you might then step down onto your forearms. If you've got any shoulder issues, this might be your position as you allow your chest to sink a little bit towards the ground. If you don't have any shoulder problems, you can extend both arms forward on your mat, rest the forehead down, and let the chest sink down as well for Anahatasana, or heart opening posture. Keeping your hips high will give you a little back bend in the spine, maybe a light sensation between the shoulder blades at the back of the heart, and the front of heart center sinking down towards the mat. This is more of a pose to rest in rather than to move in. But if at any stage there is a strong discomfort, you can sit back towards the heels when needed. You can stay here for a while and breathe gently in and out of your nose, imagining that you're opening your heart center to allow unconditional love into your life. Now, this is particularly interesting when you think about creating that for yourself. As you approach this practice on the mat, you might notice that you brought everything along. The whole of you with your daily life, everything happens here just as much. And if you look at yourself during the movements and postures in this practice, you might notice that sometimes you're not really nice to yourself, having expectations and demands. So for this practice, return to your heart, love towards self, and kindness and compassion coming along. With the last breaths in this shape, on the following exhalation, slide your hips back to your heels. And if that's right for you, let the hands rest next to the feet with your arms by the sides. Full child's pose is what I have chosen here, but feel free to leave hands forward or arms to support the head, but you could also use the block for the head. I'm encouraging a full child's pose here where the knees are quite close, if that is doable for you without any strain, to allow the shoulders to drop down towards the mat. And with that, we're exposing the back of the heart and we're trying to bring some openness in here. This energy that we all have within ourselves. Ultimately, what we're seeking here is a true connection, the true unconditional love with the universe, also with ourselves, as then only when we are rich in love ourselves can we share that with others. Let your arms now reach forward on the mat. Breathe in and rise up onto all fours. Tucking the toes under. You can always stay or come back to your knees. That's right. Raise the knees away from the mat. Find some extension into downward dog. You might then walk out the legs, go to swing into the hips. And while you're walking, then take the feet forward on your mat. As you come towards the front edge of the mat, surrender the body down into a forward fold. Likely your knees are better bent a little, so the belly is over your thighs, you're supporting your lower back. And then start your next exhalation, the lower tummy is switched on and rolling the spine up, vertebra by vertebra, into a standing position. As you come to stand at the short edge of your mat, open the arms back out, palms facing up, squeeze the shoulder blades, lifting your gaze, breathe in. And as you're exhaling, bending knees and hips, roll the arms forward, touch the backs of the hands like a rounded chair posture. Then push down into the feet, open the arms, lift your heart, breathe in. On the out breath, bending again, knees and hips, rounding forward, backs of the hands are touching. Continue that for 3 more breaths. So you're standing tall, you're squeezing the shoulder blades and raising your heart. And as you exhale, you come into a chair pose, but the shoulders round forward, backs of hands are touching. Inhale, leave it flowing. Think of chair poses when you're rounding your spine forward. And of tall open hearts when you rise. This is our last one. So releasing down with your knees, bend all the way to a forward fold. You may slide your hands up the legs as you now breathe in to lengthen the spine. Then with your out breath, stepping your right foot back into a lunge. On the inhale, bend your knees, relax the upper body or collapse the lunge. And then exhale and roll it up. If that's too strong for you, you can always have your back knee on the floor. While you breathe in now, open the arms, same as we've done, standing on those feet next to each other, bend the back knee. On your out breath, roll the spine forward, backs of the hands are touching. Inhale, open again, lift your heart. And then roll the shoulders in as you breathe out, rounding forward. Repeat for 1 more. And this time, let your hands touch down to the mat. And step your foot back for downward facing dog. On the inhale now, roll your spine forward. Come into plank or kneeling plank. Breathe out, keep your elbows closed, belly, chest, forehead to the mat. You can choose between a soft or a stronger cobra as you inhale, lifting head and chest. You can also choose to release to the floor first or come right up onto all fours on the exhale. I'm having an extra breath here as I inhale, coming to all fours. And then breathing out back to downward dog. No obligation to practice down dog whatsoever. You can always have an all four stance instead. Start walking through the feet again. And take your feet once again forward towards the top end of the mat. Breathe in to lengthen your spine to the front, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And a breath out to bow down. As you stay in your forward bend for the in-breath, on the out-breath, engage the lower tummy again and round the spine up into standing. Good support in your core center. As you come to stand, Open your arms again, squeeze the shoulder blades, breathing in. And as you're exhaling, come back to the rounded chair pose, rolling forward. Push down into the feet. Inhaling, lift your heart. Breath out, bending knees and hips as you're rolling forward. We'll go for a last round, and then that leads us into a forward bend. As you're exhaling, bending knees and hips, and almost diving down towards the ground. On the inhale, lengthen the spine forward, half lift. Breath out now, left foot steps back to lunge. Inhale, collapsing the lunge. A breath out to roll it up into standing. Open your arms, squeeze your shoulder blades and raise your heart as you inhale, back near the bend. Exhale, roll shoulders forward, round the back, touch backs of hands. And 2 more, movement now more familiar as you breathe in, soften the back knee. On the exhale, roll and round it forward. One last one as you breathe in. And with the exhale, then releasing the hands down to the mat, spreading out your fingers. Step your foot back into downward facing dog. Same here. If you want to take a break anytime, do so. You could, on the contrary, roll forward on the inhale, finding plank or kneeling plank. Exhaling, then keeping elbows low as you lower to your mat. Breath in to lift for a cobra, even an upward facing dog now. And then take your time or one breath and meet again in a downward facing dog, alternatively on hands and knees. As you arrive in the shape, soften the knees a little, stretch your tailbone further up, and start a little walk once more, all the way forward on your mat. You arrive, breathe in and lengthen your spine. On the out breath, folding forward. Bend your knees now, and as you push into the floor, let your arms open out as you come to stand. Squeeze the shoulder blades and lift the heart. And as you are exhaling, rounding once into the chair pose. When you inhale, then lift your arms all the way, maybe a mini back bend. And on the out breath, then releasing your arms behind for an interlace of the hands. Draw the arms down or away from your back and lift the heart again. Maybe the chin rises in the gaze. Inhaling here. And then bend your knees really deeply and let your belly lean over your thighs. Then raise the hips and maybe even the arms are coming away from the back. Look at your feet, find them parallel. The arms only lifted if the shoulders are okay with that. And if your blood pressure allows you, look all the way between your legs. The weight towards the balls of the feet, but both feet still touching the ground completely. Now let your arms release down to the mat. Let your hands slide up if you like, or fingertips to the floor, half lift on the inhale. And we will step the right foot back on the exhale, also lowering the heel down to the mat. And let your hands come between the legs or feet and start to sway and move, like you're creating your own dance on the mat. Everything is flowing, moving. Then relax your upper body, let it hang down in the center. Adjusting your right heel to turn a little bit out towards the back short edge of the mat. Turning your left toes to the front short edge of the mat. And then on your exhale, again, lower tummy is on, rounding your spine up into standing. And as you inhale, the front knee is in the bend. We're squeezing the shoulder blades and lifting the heart up for a deep inhale. And on the exhale, rolling the shoulders down and turning the palms down, looking over the left hand fingertips. Warrior two. Watch the front knee here and keep that aligned over the toes or with the toes. Arms can be strong, but also shoulders might need to be at ease, so accommodate for that. And if your warrior is a bit crook like mine, there's a shoulder problem that I'm still nourishing. When you take your next inhale now, lift your heel away from the ground. Open your heart and arms again. When you breathe out, you can either touch hands at heart or hands onto your front thigh and lower the back knee down onto the mat, even untucking the toes there. On your next in-breaths, open your arms wide again and lift the heart. When you're exhaling now, right hand to lower back or direction of the heel and lifting through the left arm. Have a little chin tuck here and looking upwards. The heart here is leading again rather than leaning into the lower back. Inhale deeply while you're reaching up. Exhale as you land your hands now either side of the front leg. Start to straighten the front leg. And you might slide your heel a little bit forward. Bring a deep push forward into the ball of the foot. Lengthen your spine while you might still be on your fingertips, breathing in. And then as you're exhaling, lower your nose towards the knee. If it's possible, you can plant the hands down more firmly and just concentrate on the out-breath. Half monkey god pose or Ardha Hanumanasana. As you might keep moving up from the ball of the foot, the stretch you experience is quite active and supportive. If you want a little bit more or go deeper because your body allows you to, you can stay firmly on hands or step onto fists. And on an out breath, then sliding the left heel forward as you sink towards Hanumanasana. While I'm not able to demonstrate the full expression of the shape, nor is that necessary, as we are after some extension. Not necessarily an outcome, avoiding expectations, and rather applying some kindness and compassion to our bodies. Let's slide the front foot back if you can manage, and bring your knees back down at hip distance. Spread your hands out onto the mat, a shoulder distance apart. We're on all fours for this, but you may choose to tuck your toes under. While you inhale, let your elbows bend a little, lift your tail and raise your gaze. And when you're exhaling, straighten the arms and deeply round into the cat. On the in-breath, bending the elbows, lifting the front of the body. On the out-breath, straighten the arms and push the floor away. You may continue like this for another 3 rounds, but you may also add a slight lift of the knees away from the ground to add some more core strength. Please lower the knees back down as you inhale, soften the elbows, open the front body. Then a breath out again to round. Maybe the knees just a fraction away from the ground. And repeat the whole thing one more time. Land your knees, soften the elbows, open your front. And as you breathe out, deeply round the back, hold the roundedness. If your knees are off the floor already, you only like to extend the legs, that's fine. Otherwise, extend the legs anyway, unless you would like to stay on all fours. Reach into our downward facing dog. And when you're next inhaling, roll the spine forward, come into a plank or a kneeling plank. And then exhale and lower all the way down onto the front of the body when you're ready. Rest the forehead down. Let your arms come down by your side. You might choose now to bend your right knee and just take a hold of the one foot. I suggest to turn the palm of the left hand to touch the floor. While you start to bring the foot into the hand, lifting lightly through the head and the chest, while grounding down through the left hand and engaging into the top of the left foot for a half bow pose. Take a breath in and out. Hold for one more breath. In and out. Then breathe in again. And when you're exhaling, release the shape. Bending the left knee now, reaching for the foot. It's also okay not to catch the foot and lift the knee instead. If you can, bring the foot into the hand, start to raise the upper body. Again, engage right down into the top of the right foot. So the knee is lifted. Touch firmly down with the right hand and only lifting your left side, the head and the chest. Stay for 2 more full breaths. After which you inhale again. And then on the exhale, release. Turn the palms of both hands up. Rest your favorite ear to the mat. Have little wiggles or swing of the legs from side to side. Aiming to release some tension. When you're feeling a little bit more at ease, rest the body. Allow yourself a few breaths. But return to love, kindness, and compassion. Well, be aware of the organ of the heart and the beating of the heart into the mat. The sensations become less over the time that you're resting here. But the idea of unconditional love might grow within. Let's center the head again. Bring the hands down by the sides of the ribs. Take a breath in and come up onto hands and knees. Your choice to stay here or tucking the toes under and returning for a downward facing dog. Let's walk the feet again to the front end of the mat. Take an inhale to lengthen through the spine. And exhale to fold forward. Taking your block, placing your block underneath your left hand. Please keep a gap here between the foot and the block and bring the right hand to the side of the waist. The spine here is long and the block is a good distance away. You could then bend your right knee and you could start to roll the knee open. Now, if you had a wall by the side, just like I have, you could also lean the side of the hip to the wall, starting to open the knee out, rolling the shoulder back, and then potentially extending the leg out long. No matter if you're using a wall or if you don't, please bring a flexion into the right foot. And if you're feeling reasonably solid, you can extend your right arm. So again, we've got an openness here coming through the heart. To release that, let your arms swing down, your foot land, and let your whole body fold forwards and down. On the inhale, lengthen the spine once again for a half lift. Breathe out and fold forward. And I suggest to roll up this time so we can take our blood pressure with us. Engage the lower belly again on the out breath that you're rolling up to. And taking a breath in as you open your arms out wide, squeeze the shoulder blades and lift your heart. And as you're exhaling this time, bring the hands to touch in front of the heart. And pause for a moment. We're in mountain pose. You might feel the beating of the heart again underneath your hands. Lengthening your out breath. Sense of stability and groundedness towards the floor. As you are inhaling, open the arms, lift your heart and squeeze your shoulder blades. Around your chairs, you bend your hips, roll the shoulders forward and round. Then push into the feet again, lift your arms, inhale. On the exhale, circle the hands behind. You might find that odd interlace behind the back. Lengthen the arms down all the way from the back as you lift the heart and the gaze, inhale. Bend your knees very deeply. The belly comes over the thighs. We're lifting the hips. The arms are rising. So again, the same here. The feet are a little bit apart, parallel with each other. The weight is rather in the ball of the foot than the heel. You might notice an extension coming through your back line. Then release your hands down toward the mat. A breath in as you lengthen halfway forward. With the exhale, step your left foot back, lower the heel, bring the hands in between and start to rock the body. Let it sway. Be playful with the body. Let it move and flow. Then let the upper body hang down. Allow your left heel to turn to the back short edge of the mat. The right toes facing the front short edge of the mat. And then engage your lower tummy as you breathe out, rolling up to stand, warrior two. Open the arms and the heart first as you squeeze the shoulder blades, inhale. Then roll the shoulders down. The palms facing the floor as you land in warrior two. There's that little pull of the feet in towards each other to find more strength. Strength that we use from the earth upwards. As you next inhale, begin to lift your back heel. Open the arms and lift your heart again. Hands can rest upon the thighs or palms can touch in front of heart as you lower the back knee down to the mat. As we land, breath in and open the heart again. It is now the left hand that reaches for lower back or heel and the right arm that lifts upwards. Keep that lift of your heart and the reach towards the fingers with your gaze. Inhale. On the exhale, let your hands land either side of the front leg. As you might straighten that front leg, you can slide the heel a little bit forward, starting to push forward with the ball of the foot. You can stay on the fingertips while you inhale and lengthen your spine. And then breathe out and lower your body down towards the knee. If it's okay, or you can reach, let the hands land on the mat for support. So shoulders are at ease. The leg is not so much. As we press out from the ball of the foot, we keep it engaged, quite an active stretch there. If this is what you need today, that's fine. You can leave also your hands or fists down and slide the heel forward for a deeper expression of Hanumanasana, monkey god pose. So whichever extension you're choosing to play with, Let your main focal point be your breath. Inhale again. As you exhale, begin to slide the foot back, placing your knees down at hip distance, spreading the hands out onto the mat at shoulder distance, the option of tucking the toes under. We'll go through cat and cow. As you breathe in, bend the elbows, lifting tail and gaze. Straighten the arms for stability and round deeply into the cat, exhaling. Inhaling, soften the elbows, bring space over the front of the heart. Breath out as you straighten the arms and space to the back of the heart. While you continue that for another 3 rounds, there's that extra option again of raising. Once the spine is rounded, the knees a little bit away from the ground. You bring them back down as you inhale to open the front. Exhale, rounding into the cat, maybe knees just a tiny bit away from the floor. Last round, land the knees, breathe in, open the front of the spine, and exhale as you round, pause. And you might then extend the legs fully, downward facing dog. Won't flow here, rather walking the feet again towards the front end of the mat. Once you get there, take a half lift on your inhale. With your spine now long, reach with your right hand towards the block. There's again the option of doing that freestanding or leaning your hip against the wall. It is the left hand that comes to the side of the waist there. And you could start by bending the left knee. From there, you might start to open your knee, open the hip, the shoulder, and maybe extending the leg out. If you do extend the leg, have a strong flexion in the foot. And if you're feeling reasonably balanced, you might extend your left arm upwards. We've got a nice open heart space again. Especially if you're freestanding, keep the gaze down, aiming to hold the balance. And we'll release that, landing the feet down, releasing all the way into a forward fold. Let's keep ourselves rather low. You might turn your heels in and support yourself to lower to sitting on your mat. As we take our legs out in front, if you want a more restorative approach for the seated postures, you could grab your bolster or cushioning and bring that in, for example, under your extended leg. This is really if you prefer to rest more rather than to stretch more. Now let's begin by bringing a bend into the right knee and placing the foot on the inside of your left leg. If you need a support under the buttocks, rolled up mat, blanket, or even a block will do. We're flexing the foot on the extended leg. And I'd ask you to place the back of your left hand against the inside of the leg, but quite firmly, so the leg pushes a little into the hand into the leg, and that enables us to turn the body so we're facing the bent knee. Now inhale and lift the left arm, right arm. So very sorry. And then let the left hand slide down the inside of the leg, keeping that resistance and leaning the side body over the leg. Now the palm here is facing down. If this arm doesn't allow you to be extended, you can always keep the hand in the side of the waist and your shoulder back if that's easier. You could also aim for a bind around the foot. More important, the space you're creating in the body here, whether that's more restorative or more on the stretch side. Lengths coming down the right side and maybe the back of the left leg. Let's roll our arm in, rising to sit. And then take a breath to lift the heart again. When you're now exhaling, wrap your arms around and take the back of your left hand against the knee. The other arm can be behind the back or fingertips to the floor for a twist. Keep yourself seated firmly on both sides of your buttocks. Let's inhale, bring the head forward, and then releasing the posture. We will change sides, bending the left knee in and extending the other leg out. While we flex the foot on the extended leg, please place the back of the right hand now to the inside of the leg, creating a tiny bit of pressure there. The hand to the leg back to the hand, and we're allowing our torso to follow facing the bent knee. Now, if your left arm is all right, raise it up overhead as you breathe in. And then sliding the other hand with that resistance down the leg as you're bending sideways. So if your shoulder and arm are happy, let this arm, the left arm, be extended over the head, palm facing down. If not, you could rest your hand in the side of the waist. And as you're deepening your experience, you may find a bind around the foot. You may look out further for the lengthening effect and where that lies for you. Whether that's in the side of the body, the leg. Then release that, roll your arm in, curl up through the spine, take a breath to open arms and lift your heart, and then roll over into a twist towards the bent knee, and you could rest the back of the hand against that knee, fingertips behind or arm behind the back, leaning into both sitting bones for an upright seat, and yet there's a twist in your spine. Next inhalation, turn your head to the center. And as you breathe out, relax the body. Let's bring both legs out long this time. Now for a last heart opening posture, I will use the block as well. This is a supported version. I will keep it quite low for myself. So I've put the block lengthwise but flat onto the mat. If you want a deeper opening of your chest or heart, you could also place the block halfway up. Still lengthwise on the mat, we will align the spine over the block. How to do that is to sit with the back facing the block. I will slide my block just underneath the lower ribs with its shoulder end. And I've done so by resting forearms down and then placing it where I like it to be. Aligning the spine over the block, then letting the head drop to the mat and letting the arms relax. Now, you could make that completely relaxed posture, let the legs roll out. If you've got a bit of a sore lower back, you could also bend the knees, step the feet to the mat. Or if you want a more active fish posture, draw your legs together and point your toes. So a few options here, settling into the shape. Aware of the stimulation of the block against the back of the heart and the front of heart center lifted and open. To change shape, might bend your knees a little, sliding your hands from above underneath the buttocks and squeezing the elbows in. You can then lengthen the legs out, lift the chin towards the chest, push the forearms down, lean into one, and just removing the block from underneath. So you can lie yourself back down onto the mat. We won't need the block anymore, but I would ask you to bring your knees to the chest. Give them a little hug. You could either stay here or you can widen the knees, taking a hold of the backs of the thighs while you're lifting your ankles over the knees and flexing your feet, and either holding on here or extending the arms upwards, but on the inside of the knees while reaching for the outer edges of the feet. In any case, will this be a happy baby pose or an Ananda Balasana? And you can draw the knees actively, wherever you're holding on to the legs there, down to the space on the floor beside your body. If you're holding this reasonably still, you might feel an extension, especially around the lower back, glutes, the legs themselves, and of course the hips. If for the last moment you prefer to rock the happy baby, please do so. Gentle draw on one foot and then the other to allow a more passive way of rocking. Then center yourself, bring the feet together, bring the knees a bit closer and step your feet down onto the floor. Take a breath before you act on relaxation posture. Notice what this will look like for you today. You can again grab for a bolster, place it underneath the knees or some other type of cushioning. You could have a thin cushion under the head so that the spinal alignment is maintained. And you can choose between the feet wide, the knees in for deeper lower back issues. And if you're not using a bolster, you could also extend the legs out long. But we will all let everything fall away from the body. That is including arms and legs as they just flop out to either side. The palms of your hands still facing upwards. Return your awareness into heart center. The awareness that the organ of the heart is sending you a beat. And as you bring the awareness more deeply towards the heart, you might also find that if you happen to find the experience of the love of an animal, such as a dog that unconditionally meets us at the door, wagging a tail, and the cat that conditionally allows us to be her friend, or horse that patiently waits for the next contact. You might also be honored by a child choosing to love you and their trust, a precious, gentle gift. You reflect on how you treated the love of others, especially if their love didn't meet your expectations or cultural norm of loving. Are you open to being tender with love whenever and wherever it finds you? And are there ways, or what ways are there for you to improve your tenderness with love? Message from the cards toward this topic today comes from a Namaste deck. The card that unveiled itself is the blessing of oneness. It states here, bring your awareness within and connect with the eternal you. Love, abundance and blessings flow to you. Feel a deep sense of peace. Feel the oneness, the clarity, the perfection, and the love that you truly are. And you now begin to deepen your breaths. Imagine that with each breath, you're bringing in more love. While you continue deepening the breath, you're starting to feel not just yourself, but you're also starting to overflow with the idea of love. Please then add your usual movements, wiggles and stretches to draw the physical body back into this moment. And you might then choose to bend your knees, roll to your side and join me in a seated position. And we take a deep breath and open the arms and the heart for a last time. And then joining the hands together in front of the chest, I will lift our spine up tall. We'll complete this practice with the sound of just once. Breathe in together and exhaling on Yom. Inhale. Let's share our love with each other. It's a light bow. Namaste.